So we are back for Act 2, and we start with Scene 1, which is the sun. Josh, this question is for you. Want to know what types of chemical reactions occur within the sun to make it such an energy powerhouse, and how does that energy reach the Earth?
Well, let's start by discussing what a chemical reaction is and what kind of chemistry we might talk about here. The sun is really more the realm of physics or perhaps nuclear chemistry, because it's so hot that that basically everything on it is a plasma or a gas, and so you don't have any compounds, and when you don't have chemical compounds, you don't have a lot of what we traditionally think of as chemistry. But there are nuclear reactions where you have nuclei that will fuse with one another, nuclei that split apart and become different elements. So that it's kind of this transmutation that are going on with that fission and that fusion. So, but the ones that that I was thinking of for that could be discussed in dance were primarily the fusion, and I was kind of looking for an excuse to include one of my favorite elements, deuterium. But deuterium is a heavier isotope of hydrogen. So most hydrogen is one proton in the nucleus and then one electron spinning around, and deuterium has a neutron on that nucleus, and that makes it heavier. But with just one electron and the same charge, it's got mostly the same chemistry, but it changes the nuclear properties that I look at in magnetic resonance. So we use it all the time. And so I was thinking that would be really fun to have something that discussed how or that danced how hydrogen builds up into other elements, hydrogen being the lightest element, and basically by processes of fusion, hydrogens will come together, they form deuterium, then they eventually form helium, and they'll form carbon and nitrogen, and they form basically most everything except for iron and heavier elements than that. For elements like that, you actually need a supernova. But yeah, so and the energy basically comes from the energy transmitted from the sun comes through light of wavelengths that excite molecules to form what we think of as heat. So molecules, like when they have a lot of energy and they're moving around, that's what we think of as heat. And so wavelengths of light from the sun come to the Earth, and then hit our materials, and then excite those motions, and then they become hot.
Tiffany, choreographically, this piece tells a love story through a beautiful duet. How are you connecting that story to the sun?
For me, Lola represents deuterium, and Matt represents protium. And without deuterium, then protium can't function. They need each other. So in the duet, you see kind of a tale through the night, but really it would be many nights. It's kind of the idea of when you first find a connection, and those times when you stay up all night, even until the sun comes up, and just making that initial connection, that initial falling in love stage, through times that grow and grow and grow. And sometimes in relationships, you don't really know why they're coming to an end until more is revealed of the decision. But in our piece, deuterium does leave protium. She actually asks him to leave. And then we get introduced to the Earth Not Seen, there's a little transition between the sun to Earth Not Seen, where you kind of start to see the inner layers and the inner workings of deuterium, and perhaps why she asked Protium to go.
Company member Matthew Echeverria has us rolling on the floor with laughter with his video submission for the sun. Matt created an inner monologue for his character in this piece. We hope you enjoy it as much as we do.
I just swiped right and she replied real quick and said, I'll be there tonight, so I'm kind of excited. I've been doing push-ups and sit-ups and I can hear her coming through the front door. I told her it was open, so I'm just back it up and kind of show her my little butt on my good side. Is she looking at me? Oh yeah, she's looking at me. Yeah, she's interested. Don't look away, don't be shy, and back it up a little bit more. Come on, I don't even want to see a closer look. That's right. I've been doing my squats. You like that? Hey, you shy. Come here. Oh, okay. I see. You're aggressive type. That's all right. I like that. You did your hair. It's very pretty. I like it. Trust me. I'll take care of you. No, it's okay. It's all right. Look, it's just. Oh, okay. We're moving on pretty quick here. Well, don't worry. I can catch up to you. I'm adaptable. All right. Oh, fall into my arms. Okay. You know, I got something better. Let me just lift you up real quick. Yeah, you special.
Scene 2, Earth Not Seen. Tiffany, your interpretation of this piece takes on a deeper meaning. Would you mind sharing with us what that deeper meaning is?
I was studying the Earth and all of the layers of the Earth. I was really fascinated at all of the layers, but I was really fascinated by the very inner core. And I thought a lot about that as humans, how many layers we have. So you see on the outside one appearance. So when you look at the Earth from the outside, you can see the nice round shape it creates. Often you can see blues and whites mixed in. But then when you open it up, there's all these different layers that look quite different. Some of them are quite thin, and some of them are a lot thicker. And I think that relates to you as a human, because you see one thing on the outside, but then as you get to know someone or they reveal themselves to you, you can start to see all of their layers and all of their history and all of the things that make them who they are.
Our next video is from rehearsal with company member Elizabeth Luby for the piece Earth Not Seen. Elizabeth had this to say about her selection, quoting, "For many reasons, I was excited to share this specific section of the full-length ballet Elemental. Performing Earth Not Seen is a physical and emotional roller coaster ride. The featured clip is a breath of relief after a series of inorganic movements and climactic chaos. During this part, I'm slowly able to gain control, making it the most enjoyable and freeing section to dance. I was also able to contribute to the choreographic process of these movements by working with Tiffany on what felt and looked best. The solo has changed me as a dancer in many ways, but the effortless feel shown in this clip always brings a worthwhile smile to my face. I'm happy to reveal such a variation into one solo, especially with such a powerful story behind it." Scene 3, which is Precious Metals. Josh, aside from silver, gold, and platinum, this piece features aluminum, which at one point I believe was the most precious metal, or, okay, good. What makes a metal precious, and are the classifications of metals constantly changing, sort of how aluminum once was and now it's not so much?
I mean, so the thing about precious metals is you got your chemical value, and then you got your human value. And so this is very subjective. So your chemical value, you can say, well, these precious metals are great because they're relatively inert, that they're not going to undergo chemical reactions. But they're also rare. Like platinum is used all the time in chemistry. You get platinum wire, you can make electrodes out of it. You can, as an individual atom, you can make compounds out of it that'll form catalysts, or there's other, sometimes it'll be used in medicine, like the anti-cancer drug cisplatin. So they're really very useful in that sense, but chemists don't go putting metal rings on their fingers because their metals are very, unreactive or make good pH electrodes. But actually, the lack of reactivity does kind of help the human value, because you can put it on your finger and it's not going to change significantly. Like as you wear it, it'll stay shiny, and it'll all be good. But the human value comes from the rarity of it. If it's hard to get, if it's hard to get and it's pretty, then people value it, and so they make it expensive. But aluminum is a really interesting story, because aluminum is one of the most abundant elements in the Earth's crust, and but it's so easily oxidized, and it's so tightly bound up in the minerals that are in the Earth, that are in rocks and things, that it was hard to get out. Like there's all kinds of, way back in the day, in the Iron Age, people realized that you could put certain rocks in a fire and molten iron would come out. That doesn't really happen with aluminum. It requires a lot of energy. And so eventually people figured out that you could do that, but you had to make these rocks really hot, but not so hot that it would burn the metal off. And it was a very tricky thing. So you had this thing where it was functionally rare because it was hard to get at the metal, even though the element was really abundant. It was everywhere. And so when people prized that, then all kinds of interesting things happened. Nobility would use aluminum dinnerware, because gold was so passé. And I guess what it was, there's an aluminum pyramid on top of the Washington Monument, because that was thought to be a pinnacle of American achievement to produce that much aluminum to create that. And then chemists came along and said, we could apply electrochemistry to this and make it a lot easier. And then it became so much easier that it became abundant. And so you could do that, but it's still very energy intensive to get all that aluminum out of the rocks and into a metal that's useful. Still does take a lot of energy. So because of that, aluminum recycling is still a big thing, because it's actually pretty easy to recycle. Once you get the metal, you can make it dirty and stuff, and then you just heat it up and burn off all the other stuff, and you still have this metal, and that's kind of inconvenient, but it's so much easier than getting it out of a rock that it's very efficient.
Now, let's hear from choreographer and founding artistic director Tiffany Lawson regarding precious metals.
My favorite part of precious metals definitely is with aluminum. It's kind of where my whole precious metals began. I was fascinated by the fact that aluminum actually used to be considered one of the most precious metals. And nowadays we just think of it like aluminum foil. And since Act 2 is inorganic, I was trying to think of ways of presenting this that had kind of a theme, or kind of like the overall theme of the piece had kind of a broader, bigger representation. And so for me, I kind of thought about David Bowie and how he was so much larger than life. And so you'll see not only aluminum kind of take on qualities of David Bowie, but you also see gold, silver, and platinum with similar qualities of David Bowie as well. So I think David Bowie and his very extravagant, iconic self was kind of an overall theme in the back of my mind when I was choreographing.
Michael Sherman is our costume designer and constructor. Today, we shine the spotlight on him and his amazing designs. Take a look. Thank you all so much for watching our sneak peeks today. We really appreciate your continued support, and we will be seeing you in the theater soon for the premiere of Elemental. Until then, stay tuned for updates and more videos. And if you're able, we would love you to consider making a donation to Lawson Dance Theatre. There are links to PayPal and our GoFundMe campaign on the website, www.tiffanylawsondance.com. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay compassionate. Cheers.